Joining me now in studio to take a legal deep dive into this case is criminal defense attorney Josh Kolsrud.
So there's some indicators here that it will be upgraded. Yes, there are going to be legal challenges.
That's the only statement, and that doesn't sound like murder to me.
The judges take those statements very seriously. These victims have been waiting years for this moment. This is the first time that a president has used that act to levy tariffs on other countries. The fact that she's representing herself is a wild card in this case.
To a defense attorney, that's huge.
Is that what you're actually saying?
Yes, it is. We do not know that's not the case, Nancy. We don't know that. We don't know it's not suicide. This case is the first case that's being prosecuted under the new law, and really it's going to set a benchmark for how these cases are handled in the future. If he's convicted of second-degree murder, that is, knowingly killing another person.
This entire case is built on suspicion, and you can't convict somebody based solely on suspicion.
The Supreme Court is going to be answering the same questions that it has been since 1787. They're saying, look, what the prosecution is asking for in this case is unreasonable, because when you look at other defendants who are in the similar position, it's obviously unfair. That's what they're arguing. He wanted to get to the granular level. Tell me why we should be going forward with sentencing. And I like that. Absolutely. So I have no doubt that the Chandler Police Department is scouring through both Brady's phones and Emily's phones to see the communication between the two after this tragic incident occurred. The only way that she is going to have a path to victory is if she puts on a case in chief and she takes the witness stand.
The Tesla is like a supercomputer, and it's going to be able to tell investigators so much about the timeline.
Using that as a rubric, it's going to be a significant amount. It's the State Department's prerogative to be able to grant people a student visa or to revoke it. It triggers the Patriot Act. And what that means is that the conspiracy statutes become much more broad. The issue here is that DCS can't look at the cumulative evidence and then group it together and use that as a basis to take away somebody's children.
That there can be no other intent in a case like this because they don't have statements that prove it.
This 911 phone call is going to be devastating to Lori Vallow's defense strategy.
Money was a motive here, that it's a strong motive.
Their only defense that's probably going to hold any water is whether or not he was guilty except insane. We expect charges of aggravated murder, unlawful discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice. But another story that people aren't necessarily talking about are possible federal charges. In the birthright citizenship case, the Supreme Court is going to decide what the 14th Amendment means. It's not just 12 DCS reports, it's also 5 additional police reports.
From the very beginning of the case, the prosecution came at P. Diddy with everything that it had, and it was rejected by a jury.
I'm just so happy that they're finally able to confront the person responsible. The fact that she's not putting on a case in chief is huge, because now she really can't put on a self-defense claim. The prosecution, though, is asking for 2 different types of sentences. They're saying, look, we want him to be sentenced to the max, 20 years. But in the alternative, well, we're asking for around 11 years.
Unlike the character witnesses that were called earlier today, this is a fact witness.
The first thing you do is contact the American consulate. The standard is that there has to be a clear and present danger. It has to be happening right now in order for DCS to have that ability. If that's true, if Mr. Robinson gave his confession to a religious figure, there may be a privilege.
I don't think this is going to affect his music in any way whatsoever, unfortunately, because this is what they rap about.
What's important about this video is that the defense needs to single it out as a single incident. I really feel like she had no other option in her mind but to use violence to stop the threat. The answer is yes. They can absolutely come in, and it's just as good as any confession that he could give to a detective in the case. So absolutely.
Disclosure by a victim is one of the most important events in any sex crimes case.
The brothers can still appeal the judge's decision, and I'm sure that they will.
I think that prison is definitely appropriate in this case. I don't think that it's going to be what the prosecution's asking for. I think that it'll be probably a little bit less than what the pre-sentence report is asking for, which is 70 months. So I would say in between 4 and 7 years.
The other charges allow the government, the prosecution, to bring in additional evidence, such as the obstruction of justice.
Its programming literally requires ChatGPT to be agreeable to that topic.
Lori Vallow has represented herself pro se superbly.
He's in a lot of trouble, and hopefully the prosecutor is going to upgrade this to an adult felony.
The financial motive is as old as time, and it's tangible. Right now, there are approximately, this is according to reports, at least 20 people on the Discord server.
What makes this case really disturbing is that there's no indication that he knew these people, that he knew these victims, that he snuck into this house and he attacked and stabbed 2 people.
Don't pay any bribes. You know, in Mexico, paying bribes is illegal, and oftentimes it can get you into more trouble. She didn't act like somebody who just witnessed a murder and homicide. So it's going to be a very difficult day for Lori today.
They charged him with the easiest type of homicide to prove in this case, which is knowingly killing another person, which is second-degree murder.
It was definitely emotional, but also incomplete.
Whatever happens in this case is going to change how the law treats AI. The Trump administration is choosing cases that, they believe have the most amount of evidence that they were doing activities in addition to political speech.
That would be another reason why they would pursue charges in a case like this.
If Lori Vallow is ever going to come clean, I don't think it's going to be for a very long period of time.
We finally have the moment where hopefully the victims are starting to get some closure.
There may be a parallel prosecution from the federal government that also carries the death penalty. It's about justice, accountability, and closure.
One of the first things that you have to prove as a prosecutor is intent.
The charges are certainly appropriate and expected.
But I will tell you that she's actually doing a fairly good job.
Judges typically don't do that.
When you are in the process of losing your visa or in a removal process as well, you're not appointed a free attorney like you would be if you were charged with a crime.
Absolutely. So the first thing that needs to happen is they need to upgrade the charges to first-degree murder.
I would really hammer home how the father's demeanor was calm and collected.
She's already facing life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I'm glad that we have finality for the victims.
The presumptive term is going to be 10 years in prison for a first-time offender, so it's very significant.
These attorneys are also making another very interesting argument.
That means, if it's true, that there is not a self-defense claim.
Tomorrow's sentencing isn't just about Sean Puffy Combs. It's also about how judges are permitted to handle jury verdicts.
In any violent criminal case, there's no such thing as coincidence.
Josh, always great talking to you.
Josh Kolsrud, criminal defense attorney, thank you.